Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So I saw this beautiful set on TikTok and I really love the skirt. So here is a mock-up I came up with trying to figure out how to make the pattern of the upper part of the skirt. So for the fullness and the length in the original picture, you'll be needing about 6 meters of fabric, but I was able to achieve this using 4 meters of fabric but not the same length as in the original picture, and I also got a small top from it. So if you'd like to see how I achieve my result, then keep watching. For this tutorial, I have here 4 meters of this beautiful pink crepe fabric. I have my invisible zipper. This black lining I'll be using to demonstrate how I drafted the upper part of this skirt. I have folded my fabric in a triangular form. From the tip of the triangle, I'm going to come down to the point whereby if I measure the semicircle, it will equate to half of my waist circumference plus 1 inch zipper allowance. So I came down at 19.5 inches to get half of my waist circumference plus 1 inch zipper allowance. My waist circumference measured 30 inches and half of that is 15 inches plus 1 inch zipper allowance, making it 16 inches. And I'm cutting for the front and back panel. From the waistline, I will go down 11.5 inches for the width of this skirt. You know the shape of this skirt, the pointed part for me, I used 11 inches and the half inch is to join it to the lower part of the skirt. So guys, I've taken that measurement and these 11.5 inches include the width of my waistband, which I will trim out as we move along, and I will use that to cut out the waistband for this skirt. Do not be tempted to cut a long strip of fabric for the waistband of this skirt. You can see that the waistline is not straight. I'll go ahead and add a seam allowance on the waistline and cut out our pattern. This is what your pattern will look like, and remember this is for both the front and the back panel. I will give it a good press. We'll be creating crease line on this pattern to help us shape the skirt and also to separate the front from the back panel. Before I'll go ahead and do that, I will mark out our 1 inch zipper allowance on the back. Remember my pattern is on fold. I'll go ahead and fold it in half, aligning the center front of the pattern to the line of the zipper and give it a good press. So guys, I have done that. I have separated the front and back panel with a crease line, which is our side seam, and I've labeled it front and back so that we don't get confused. On the front panel, I'll fold it into 2 again and give it a good press to create another crease. I'll do the same on the back panel. This new crease line is our nipple to nipple measurement where we usually insert our dart, but we are not inserting any dart on this one. I will highlight these crease lines with a chalk so that we can see it better. So guys, this is our skirt pattern on fold and this is the center front. From that point to this side is the front panel as indicated by the labeling, and from that point to this other side is the back panel. The crease line on the front and back panel represents our dart line or the nipple to nipple measurement, and the crease line in the middle or center represents the side seam. I will trim off this half-inch seam allowance on the waist for my waistband, and this will serve as a pattern while cutting out my waistband. The width of my waistband measured half an inch. From the waistline on the center front, I came down at 4 inches. This includes half-inch seam allowance on the waistline to attach the waistband. So this leaves me with 3.5 inches. The seam allowance to join to the bottom of the skirt will be added when cutting out the pattern. So when I attach my waistband and attach the lower part of the skirt, the total width of the center front will be 4 inches. I'll go ahead and take this measurement. Then on the crease line, I went out by 1 inch and I will slightly connect these 2 points. On the crease line of the side seam, I came down at 6 inches. This includes half-inch seam allowance on the waistline to attach the waistband. So the half-inch seam allowance to attach to the bottom will be added when cutting out the pattern. So when I attach my waistband and attach the bottom of the skirt, the width of the side seam will be 6 inches. I'll go ahead and connect the point as well with a slight curve as you see me doing. We'll repeat the same measurement on the back panel. On the center back panel, I will come down at 4 inches just like we did on the front. Then on the crease line of the back, I will go out towards the side seam by 1 inch and I will connect these 2 points with a slight curve. Once I'm happy with the way it is shaped, I will go in and highlight the curves. So guys, this is what I've arrived at. Remember, the longest part of this pattern measured 11.5 inches, half inch to join to the bottom of the skirt, leaving us with 11 inches, then half inch to join to our half-inch waistband, which brings us back to the width of 11 inches. I'll go ahead and cut out the pattern. I will add half-inch seam allowance around the curved area, and I will also notch the side seams of the pattern for easy attachment of the bottom of the skirt. So guys, this is the final look of our pattern. To know how much fabric to cut for the lower part of the skirt, I'll go ahead and measure the circumference of this curved area. Mine measured 70 inches, so I added extra 10 inches to that, making it 80 inches. So I doubled that for the front and back panel, and this measured once 160 inches. So the width of the lower part of my skirt measured 29 inches, and this includes 1 inch seam allowance. So the total length of the longest part of my skirt after sewing measured 39 inches, and the total length of the shortest part after sewing measured 32 inches. I'll go ahead and cut this out on the fabric, and I'll be cutting 2 of these. So guys, I've done that. One of these will serve as the lining, and to the other I'm going to add a lightweight interfacing to add a little stability to the crepe because it's very light. I have ironed on a lightweight interfacing on one of the pieces, and this distorted the shape of the pattern because my fabric has a little bit of stretch. So if you're working with a similar fabric, I'll advise you iron on your interfacing first on the fabric before cutting out the pattern. This is what I mean by ironing on the interfacing first on the fabric before cutting out. If you're working with a lightweight material like mine that has a little bit of stretch and you want to add a little stability to it, you iron on the interfacing on the fabric first before you cut out your pattern. Otherwise, if you do this after cutting out, the interfacing is going to distort the shape of your pattern. So guys, I've cut out a new pattern and I'm going to show you the difference between this new one and the old one. You can see the difference between the old pattern and the new one. You can clearly see that they do not match. I'm going to use this interfaced one as the lining, and the one without interfacing is going to be on the front panel of the skirt. I have also cut out the lower part of the skirt. I've cut out 2 long rectangles measuring 80 inches by 29 inches, and this includes seam allowance. You remember the half-inch seam allowance we trimmed off on the waistline at the beginning of this tutorial? I'm going to use that as a template to cut out the waistband of my skirt, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces of these. The width of my waistband measured 1.25 inches, and the length is the circumference of my waist. Do not be tempted to cut a long strip of fabric for the waistband of this skirt. As you can clearly see, the waistline of this skirt is slightly curved. I have cut out 2 strips for the waistband and have ironed on a lightweight interfacing. I'll go ahead and attach them to each panel with a 0.25-inch seam allowance. The smaller the seam allowance, the easier it is to sew round curved areas. So I'll go ahead and attach the waistband. I've attached the waistband to the skirt and I've notched round curved corners to release any tension and allow the skirt to lay flat. This is what I have. I've given it a good press. The smaller the seam allowance when sewing round curved corners, the better the result. The interface part is going to be the lining of the skirt, while the part that is not interface is going to be the front panel of the skirt. Before I join these two pieces together, I'll go ahead and run gather stitches on the lower part of my skirt and gather it back to the original circumference of 70 inches. So guys, I've gathered the lower part back to the original circumference of 70 inches. Remember, the length of the lower part measured 160 inches for the front and back panels. I'll go ahead and join the lining to the main piece first on the waistline, and the rest of the sewing I will be doing off camera. Like I earlier mentioned, the interface panel is going to serve as the lining, while the part that is not interface is going to be on the front panel of the skirt. So guys, I've joined the two panels together and I secured the waistline of the skirt, the main panel to the lining, using a stitch in a ditch. This simply means running a stitch in between the stitch line that joined the waistband to the body of the skirt. Then I went ahead to secure round the curved side of the skirt using my needle and thread, and this thread will be pulled out after the lower part of the skirt has been attached to the main panel. The next thing I'm going to do is to attach the lower part of the skirt following the curve of the skirt, and I'll be using my needle and thread to tack it down first to see how it turns out, and I'll show you guys. So guys, this is what my skirt is looking like. I have tacked it down with my needle and thread, and from every indication I'm happy with the way it turned out. I'm just giving you guys a 360-degree look. I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and attach it with a straight stitch, overlock the raw edges, pull out the thread I used to tack it down, and insert the invisible zipper. I will also finish the hem of the skirt, and all this I'll be doing off camera. I also made a simple top from the remaining piece of fabric, and I'll be posting the look in a short video. So guys, this brings us to the end of this tutorial. If you find it helpful, do not forget to like, share, comment. Leave all your questions and suggestions in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next one. A bientôt!